Well, a very good morning and welcome to the grand final of the Global Trail World Series, the Golden Trail World Series, and Italy, the venue for this final showdown. What a location it is. Draw a rectangle between Milan and St. Moritz, Cortina and Venice, and right in the middle of that you will find Trentino. Absolutely stunning location and the venue for the final of the series this year, with so much at stake. 300,000 euros in the purse for the season, and we're waiting to see who can claim the top prize. Elisine Azawi of Morocco looking very good after the men's prologue, very dominant performance in that. And in the women's, well, it was Madalena Florea who came out on top, and she starts as favourite to take the Tour title this year. Well, Florea has been climbing at an unbelievable speed. That's where she broke away in the prologue, but she has some very, very tough opposition today. Amongst the favourites, Joyce Muthoni, of course, from Kenya. We've got Floris Kisang. Naomi Lang of Great Britain will be racing as well. Good to see her back in action after getting a win earlier in the season. And Takako Takamura of Japan amongst the favourites. Don't think we're going to see her take the top prize today, but a top three would be fantastic for the Japanese runner. Well, 8 races in all, the prologue here in Italy, and then today the final day for the women's, and there you see the points. Madalena Florea leading the way, 6.76. It's a slim margin, a very slim margin at this stage of the season. 27 points ahead of Sarah Alonzo. Alonzo very much in it if she can get the win here today. Enduro of Kenya in third, Ansa of Spain down in fourth place, Marlinosa, and certainly, I think she'll feel she has a chance if things go wrong for Florea. The Romanian certainly in the driving seat at the start of this final event of the season. What a year it's been for Lauren Gregory as well of the United States. Good to see her doing so well, and she's lying 5th in the standings, 578 points, so she's just about 100 points behind the leaders. Well, here's the venue. And as you can see, no shortage of hills. But the first part of the course is along the lake before they break up. That's where the sprint will be decided. And then a very, very tough section of climbing. And predominantly, it is an up and down race over the full 21 kilometers of distance. It's technical. The ridgeline is complex. That's where we could see a few changes. And then a brutally steep uphill section up to the peak. And that, what is it, 1 in 5 in terms of ascent up there. And then the section for the downhill runners. And there are those who are much, much better than others on the downhill section. And by the bottom of this one, the legs are going to be burning. 691 meters descent in the space of 2.5 kilometers as they head back down towards the lake and the finish here. One little extra climb just before they come into the final stages, traverses them across the mountainside before they drop down to the bottom of the valley and then race back into the town to finish. How is that for a setting? Absolutely stunning. This reckoned to be the cleanest lake in Trentino. Bizarrely, most of its water comes from underground, feeds up from underneath. The groundwater gets up to some 24 degrees in the summer months, so very, very popular. It's still pretty warm. It's only just started to drop away. Temperatures overnight just below double figures, around 7 or 8 last night. And the top runners being introduced to the fans here. Hill running absolutely massive in Italy. Well, hopefully we'll get a look at the top 10 contenders for the day. Well, Madalena Florea It's been a great season for her. Getting a win at Golfo d'Isolo, where she won her first ever Golden Trail World Series race. That was really the making of her. Remember, she comes from a flat running background. Now the Kenyans are strong right across the board. Zagama this year won by Sarah Alonzo, who is certainly one of the favourites here today. Last minutes of preparation. This is a difficult time. They've had a long time to think about it. If you were with us at the last of the races, the Sierra Zinal, that was on the 9th of August, so almost exactly 9 weeks ago. 9 weeks to rest, recover, race where they felt that was necessary, and then, of course, to raise their game for the grand final and the decider for the season. Now, plenty of points up for grabs. 200 points in a normal Global Trail World Series race, but 300 on offer for the win, plus the 100 points they could have won in the prologue. That all went to Florea. That could prove to be absolutely crucial. And as I said, she's only 27 points ahead of Alonzo. She's 50 clear of Injiro, and Marlon Ossa just 61 points behind in 4th place. So all to play for in the women's. I think Lauren Gregory of USA hasn't raced as much as some of the others, 5.78, so she is exactly 98 points behind the Tour leader. Joyce Injiro, is it going to be her day? Bit of a hammer blow to the Kenyans, with Chipengino being disqualified, failing a drugs test after her race in Sierra Zinal. That meant that Caroline Kimotai came through to win that one, and just what the Tour didn't need. It's what the Kenyans didn't need, so there will be doubt in the minds of so many when they look at the Kenyan runners and what they can do. They are absolutely phenomenal at this. But in the women's Tour, Injiro is the best, in 3rd place at the moment. Maybe this is going to be Romania's day. So Florea wearing bib number 1, Sarah Alonzo wearing 2, Marlon Ossa wearing 3, Joyce Injiro wearing 4, 5 is Lauren Gregory, Kisanga Kenya is 6, and Rosa Lara of Spain is number 7. Naomi Lang of Great Britain, number 8 today. The last few moments to set their minds and psych themselves up for the task ahead. Now, the first kilometre and about 1,200 metres is very, very flat. That's why that has been awarded the sprint section of the day. How many of those going for the overall win are going to really unleash something in the first 4 minutes? I think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely. The climbing is brutal here. 21 kilometres in all, 1,600 metres. And here we go, the final race of the season. The women's grand finale is underway. Well, it's a good field. 85 starters in all. It's going to be a massive field tomorrow. 187 men have signed up for the final of the men's race tomorrow. And at 21k, that was Ruto of Kenya just taking a steady lead. Actually, still pulling away from the rest. So she's going to be the trailblazer. I think we'll see some others come through. And it will take us a while just to identify because of the nature of this sort of racing, so much of the footage comes from drones and GoPros. We have cyclists out there with cameras, runners out there with cameras as well. Floria, always recognizable, very distinguished, either clothing or hairstyle, bit of everything today. And she is going to be difficult to miss, leading the way now and setting the pace over the first flat section. The perfect warm-up, but they all know that when they reach that peninsula in around 800 meters time, they turn left and they start climbing. Just 12 meters or so altitude gain over the first K. Marlenosa well positioned. She's wearing bib 3. Schweiger of Slovakia is also up there in that leading group, so she'll be happy with that. No real development so far, and the fact that, what have we got? 30-40 meters between the front and the back of the pack, suggesting it's a healthy pace, but is not blisteringly quick. So just about 800 meters covered of the 21K they're racing. Initially advertised as 22K and 1800 meters. I think they'll all have been happy that it's down to 21 and 1600 meters. So it's still what, 150 meters or so more climbing than Loch Linney to the summit of Ben Nevis, just to give you some sort of idea. And a little bit further in terms of distance as well, but that's become the standard. 2 races in April, Kobe and Jinxiling in China, on the Great Wall of China. That was spectacular. May, we had another 2 races. Italy at the Il Golfo dell'Isola, that was a spectacular one, won by Madeleine Fleury, where she really came through, winning her second ever race. Fleury at the moment on the right-hand side of your picture, leading that left-hand column, and just keeping an eye on the leaders. Zagama also taking place in May, then in June, Broken Arrow in the United States, and then flew down to Mexico for the Tepec Trail. That was a 34-kilometer classic, absolutely brilliant. Lauren Gregory coming through to win that one for the USA. And then in August we had the Solomon Pitts Trail, the Glacial Trail, that didn't actually take in the glacier at all. The weather was so bad. Won by Naomi Lang of Great Britain. Would she have won if it had been the original course? I think possibly she would have done. She was in tremendous form, climbing well, descending brilliantly. And if Lang is going to feature here today, I think it will be the second half of the race when we get to see her, because she is a brilliant technical descender. And then Sierra Zinal, the most recent of the Global Trail World Series races. And as I mentioned earlier, that was 9 weeks ago, and another 31K of racing, 2,200 meters of ascent on that occasion. So the profile here looks relatively easy compared to that, but 21K, 1,600 meters. And they're through the first kilometer, and the climbing is just about to start. When they turn left, the zigzags will begin. They'll go across the road. So Fleury in very good form, number 21. That is Valentine Yepkoech Ruto for Kenya. Sarah Alonzo there wearing 2. lying in 4th place at the moment. I think she will just have to keep an eye on Fleury. She has to beat Fleury if she wants to take the title this year. Great position for Fleury to be in. And I tell you what, this is where she excels. She is such a good climber. I would be surprised if she wasn't leading come the top of the big climb at just about the halfway stage, around the 10-kilometer mark. Problem with this climb, as far as the runners are concerned, is it gets steeper and steeper and steeper. Conditions just warming up nicely. The paragliders getting a little bit of lift from the thermals coming out of the forests, and they will get the absolute perfect view of this race as it unfolds. Well, Ledro Lake, Pieve de Ledro, the village hosting the start of this event, not far from Garda. Well, let's have a chat with Madalena Fleury, who is, of course, the tour favorite.
Because it's crazy, it's tough. It's technical. It's all what I was not expecting to have the race since I was started Golden Trail. But this race will show me if I'm good physical and mentally. You know, the work was done until now. I'm very happy the season what I have until now. Here I'm coming to be focused for myself. I don't care for the other. I know to win. I know to finish in the almost in the last one. Let's see what will happen this year. I'm coming here to show the best version, to hide and to lay it behind all the problems, and in 2 days to be
Well, as best as she can, may just well be a winning performance here. And Fleury, she's had injury problems in the past, as have most runners. Achilles tendon, so difficult to get back to top form when the Achilles or the hamstrings have been playing up. She's recovered well, and as I mentioned earlier, she comes from a road running background, road and track. She was exceptional, but it was just at the start of COVID when she started to do a few trail races and realized that she wasn't just good, she was world class. And here she is at the moment leading Joyce and Giro of Kenya, and there's a 20-meter gap opened up already. This is a very convincing start from Madalena Fleury. If she's going to win the Tour, she will want to win it in style. Must apologise for my voice, struck down by heavy cold over the last 24 hours. Joyce in Giro racing for and normal, the team set up by Kylian Jornet, who has graced the Global Trail World Series in the past. He's won many a race, Zagama of course, Sierra Zinal, but he's off achieving unbelievable feats. So Fleury breaking into a power walk for the first time, and this might just give Enduro an opportunity to close the gap, but just as I say that, Fleury is upright and running again. This gap doesn't seem to be opening up too much at the moment. Don't be fooled by the fact that the camera is getting closer. Now, this is one event where the cameramen have to be world-class athletes as well. We will see bikers later on the course. This is not the area for flying drones. You wouldn't see a lot from directly above the athletes at the moment. So Floris Kisang in second. We've got Ruto in 3. Feliu of Spain in 4th position at the moment. Feliu, a physio, comes from a slightly medical background. Only been trail running for a few years. Floria's breakthrough, really, the final in Isola back in 23. And at that stage, she had absolutely no financial backing whatsoever. And there you see on the profile on the left, they've done the first steep section of climb. This next bit is flowing. It's where you can work the lactic out of the legs. But remember, the steepest has been saved till last on this route, just before they hit the peak. And then they have to try and find some fluidity, some relaxation in the legs for the descent. You can see the ridge line. That looks quite a nice profile, but it's very, very technical. And all the way through, you want to make sure you've saved something. Now, just trying to get a rundown on things going on behind. So Fleury out in front, and Giroux I've got in 2nd place. Lauren Gregory of USA has worked herself up into 3rd. Now, Lauren Gregory lying in 5th position in the Tour at the moment. She is a good, as I mentioned, 98 points down on Fleury, so no real chance of catching the Romanian unless something goes drastically wrong. But Gregory certainly will have Marlin Osser in her sights, and a top 3 is not out of the question if she can pick up, and I think she's got to pick up what, 280 points today. Slightly different point system for the final, as you'd expect. Instead of 200 for a win, you get 300, 282 for 2nd, 264 for 3rd, and then if you're down in 4th, you're going to lose 51 points to the winner of the day. So Gregory, if she wants a top 3 in the Tour, I think has to finish in the top 2 here today. And actually, it won't matter if she's beaten by Fleury or Alonzo, because they're already ahead of her. They're in the top 2 anyway. She's really after the scalp of Joyce and Giroux, who's well positioned at the moment in 2nd. Yeah, that's an effective power walk from Fleury, specialising now in these 20 to 30 kilometre races. I think she's well capable of going over those distances. Didn't used to like running for anything longer than 2.5 hours, but with the change in training routine, she's getting better and better at distance as well. And just in case you're worrying or thinking that the runners are breathing hard, it's actually the breathing of the cameraman that we can hear at the moment.
She said, yeah.
Let's go, guys. Come.
Well, there goes in Giroux, and well, that could be an expensive mistake. Fleury, I'm assuming from her position, had an issue of the laces coming undone, which seems remarkably unprofessional at this stage of a race. I don't think I've seen that before. Judging by the time it took, I think she did both, but she's had a little breather, and already she has closed that gap down to next to nothing. That's a phenomenal comeback, because she must have been 50 meters behind by the time she'd done that double bow. Anyway, a chance now for her to relax and keep an eye on one of her main rivals. Indiro is 50 points behind in the standings, and that means that if Florea finishes in the top 3 today, it doesn't matter what the Kenyan does. So off the first bit of technical trail, and Florea jumps in front again. She'll be very, very keen to establish a decent lead by the top of the climb. She's not bad on the downhills, but she's by no means the best. Nemi Lang of Great Britain is one of the best. 7 British athletes, incidentally, racing today. Sarah Vilhoit, haven't seen how she is getting on. Vilhoit from the Peak District. Didn't climb a mountain until she was, what, 25, 26. That was Snowdon. And it was a long time after that that she got the bug for running. But she became the English mountain running champion in 2023. So she's a class act, but at the moment some way behind. Nemi Lang, by my reckoning, is just about 100 meters off the leaders. In the leading group, we have Lauren Gregory, I mentioned, back in 3, Sarah Alonzo in 4, Ruto of Kenya in 5, Bukovian of the Czech Republic, who we haven't seen much of this year. She's not doing too badly at all. She's about 80 meters adrift of the race leader, Madalena Florea. Well, welcome back if you've been away on the break. No real developments. After Florea stopped to do her laces up, she has regained the lead. And Sarah Alonzo actually is starting to make an impression. Closing on the gap. Alonzo wearing bib number 2. And it's going to be interesting to see just how hungry she is for the Tour win, because she knows she has to beat Florea. That was La Salle wearing 37. Another of the Spanish runners here. Marlene Osser is the best of the Spaniards, along with Sarah Alonzo. Those two both in the top 4 of the Golden Trail standings. So it's been a really good season for the Spaniards, and Flui, who is down in 6th position, not far off a top 5 finish. She's only some 20 points behind Lara Gregory of USA. Joyce Giro, of course, the winner of the Tour last year, ahead of Judith Vida. Marlene Osser was in 3rd. Other names to have won the Golden Trail were Sophia Lauchley, who is better known as a cross-country skier in the American cross-country team, along with Jess Diggins. There's another mistake from Florea. Not quite fully focused at the moment. Perfect build for this sort of running. But almost more important than the build is what is inside the head. And of course the cardiovascular system makes a massive difference as well. But even the best suffer, and you've got to be able to cope with that pain. These climbs go on and on and on. Bear in mind they're not really fully recovered from the prologue. Florea winning that, Gregory in 2nd, and then Indiro what was her time? 41.17. So giving away a minute 25 or so to Fleuria on the prologue. More importantly, giving away a few points as well. Anna Brooks of USA, not having a bad run so far. She's the second of the Americans in the field. Gregory is up in the top three still. We haven't seen much of Gregory so far. I suspect we will do as they come towards the top of this climb. 3.4 kilometers gone, and a total distance of 21k to cover today. So just under 18k still remaining. Luckily for them, it is not all like this.
Team 33, je donne le relais à Yann. Yes.
Fleuria, who's been working with Ian Otzinka over recent years, also with Greg Volley, just to turn her from a good road runner into a brilliant trail runner.
33.
Well, there is Sarah Alonzo, and Alonzo, by my reckoning, just 30-40 meters or so off the leader. So things are going okay, and she's going to have to work her magic on the downhill if she's going to beat Fleuria today.
Team 33, il y a 30 mètres environ entre la troisième et les deux premières. Ouais, pas de souci.
653
Ouais,
meters, the start of the race. Not quite half of the climbing done at this stage. Very different styles. I think Fleuria probably the more efficient. Enduro, much straighter legs, which can't be a bad thing. Takes some of the pressure off the quads, puts it onto the glutes. Certainly want to save the quads for the downhill section. They can absolutely let it rip today. No more racing to worry about. 8 races prior to this grand final weekend. Interesting that you know, the best of the runners pretty much pick their races. If we look at the men's, for example, Al-Azawi of Morocco stated very early on this season he was going to try and get maximum points out of 3 races and come to the final in the strongest possible position. That's exactly what he's done. And by winning the prologue yesterday, he is now on a maximum of 700 points and very much in the driving seat as far as the men's goes. Kipingino's on 671, Kiriago on 658. Those are the 3 contenders, I think, for the men's title. But Al-Azawi winning the prologue by what? A 2-minute margin. It's only a 7k race, but it's effectively a time trial. So we're at a mass start. I think Al-Azawi would have just controlled things a bit better, but he was last to go. The leader of the tour gets the benefit of starting last, so he knew exactly where he stood.
Now, Patrick, good news. There will be 2 of us on this audio today. We've managed to resolve some of our issues to do with the microphone.
Yep, welcome, David. My voice, very much grateful for your appearance. And yeah, a very, very solid start from Madalena Florea.
I mean, no surprises really after yesterday's prologue. She attacked the very first climb of the prologue as if she knew she was the champion. And she's coming in today knowing that a first or even a second place is enough to win the series. And the fact that she's at the front now, she'll be feeling confident. She has had issues with nerves in the past. We saw her collapse last year at the final, finishing in 43rd place. She's had issues at other races this season, but it doesn't seem to be a consideration at all today. She's looking wonderful on this course.
Yeah, she's made one navigational error and stopped to do the laces up at an early stage on this climb. But I was astonished at how quickly she closed down again on Enduro. She was 50 metres back. It took her no more than 150 metres to close the gap.
And at this stage of the race, we'd expect Madalena to be the faster climber. The question is whether Madalena's thinking about the race or the series, because as the race goes, Joyce is in a position where, come the downhill, potentially could attack back. She's a very good closer. She's very good on high speeds down. Lauren Gregory, slightly behind, is even better. So actually, if we're looking at the race as a whole, all three of those are in a very good position. But if she's wondering about this overall series title, it's Sara Alonso she's most fearful of. And if she finishes ahead of Sara, she will have no problems. But Sara is actually known as a better climber of the two of them. If I was to say, looking at this season, it was towards the end of Kobe that Sara really made her mark on the climb and showed that she could outclimb Madalena. And Sara, to me, is already looking tired, given that she knows she should have gone out trying to lead this thing from the gun, and she hasn't.
Yeah, Alonso some way back at the moment, but as you mentioned, Florea first or second is good enough to take the Tour title. Enduro, who's what, 50 points behind in the Tour race, she's got to hope that three other athletes get in front of Florea, so she's looking for some favours from the other runners.
And the challenge of the race like this is it's a very, very technical downhill. I was there 3 days ago, and if you look at the descent that they go through, they cover over 1,000 meters in under 5K. That is an insane drop. But not only that, it's got a real mix. You can see in the background here the terrain they're running on. There's leaves, there's mud. There are a lot of rocks on the downhill as well. And so there's no point at which you can really relax. And one of the challenges for Madalena coming into that downhill is, how do you descend in a controlled way when actually braking too much, you destroy your quads and you lose your rhythm. And so she will have in the back of her mind, as you say, if she turns an ankle, if she goes down, that could be the end of a race, and that is the end of her championship dream. And that is a very big weight to be running downhill with. So even if she goes into that downhill with a nice little cushion over Joyce and over Lauren, it's extremely hard to run downhill at 50% when it's that technical without going incredibly slowly. So this race is going to be fascinating to see how she, if she tries to build a huge lead just to take even more pressure off.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking exactly that you know, if she can gain 5% on the uphill, so she can wind it down a few percent on the downhill and just make sure of her footing all the way down, that might be a good tactic. Now, it's not quite an up and down course, David. The last 4-5 kilometers has a little bit of incline, but it's not like one of those courses where you do two big climbs. So it doesn't matter so much how much damage you do to your legs on the big descent.
Absolutely true. They're not going to have that second change of gear, but that end is really, really horrible. It's a classic course from the race director of the Golden Trail. And one of the deceiving things about the downhill is you can actually see the lake and it looks as if you can see the finish line, but there's an entire other segment of the lake that you have to run around. And so these athletes will come to the bottom of that finish thinking that they're nearing the end of the course, but you keep on running up and down, and it keeps on changing the last 4 or 5 kilometers at a point where you are tired. And so if the athletes haven't checked out the course, which I don't think all of them have, they may be drawn into going all out on that downhill to try and catch the opposition, and then just finding that the last 3, 4, 5 kilometers is a death march in essence. Yeah,
well, there you see on the map on the left an indication that Njiro pretty much at the halfway stage of the climb. Do remember that the hardest bit of the climbing comes at the end, and you know, if you've pushed too hard on this first section, you could lose a significant amount of time then.
And
so the two leaders, Madalina Florea still leading the way for Romania. Joyce Muthoni Njiro in second. Sarah Alonzo still in third place. Number 16 on your screen at the moment. That's Sarah Carter of the USA. The Americans will be hoping that Alonzo can do something special. Not Alonzo, that Sarah Carter can do something special on this climb. I was just looking for Lauren Gregory to see how she's getting on. Have you got any news on her, David?
I mean, she looked masterful at the prologue yesterday, and the race was almost 2 halves. In the first half, Madalina took a minute out of everyone on that climb, and it was almost the reverse on the descent. Lauren Gregory clawing back 43 seconds on Madalina. The only person who could even get close to her was Naomi Lang, who you've obviously mentioned already, an incredibly good fell runner. But Lauren is coming into this significantly like Madalina, where they haven't been racing quite as much this season. And one of the challenges of this year in particular is we've had the World Championships 2 weeks ago. And so some of our runners out there have run over a marathon distance within 2 weeks of this race. And in fact, Rosalara Filiu, she's run 80k 2 weeks ago and somehow came 5th in the prologue yesterday. And so while we're looking at Sarah now, we know she can hurt herself. We know she just drives all the way to the finish. But significantly compared to Lauren and compared to Madalina, she is the one that's raced a marathon and has that drain in her legs that she's been desperately trying to shake off this week.
Yeah, Alonso looking very, very good, but she needs to. Remember, she is in second position in the Tour overall, just 27 points down on Florea. Florea did herself some huge favours, David, by winning the prologue, and that's put her in a decent position because it means that she can afford to finish in the top 2 rather than having to win this to be absolutely certain of taking the title.
Yeah, it's one of the difficulties of having that prologue on the main race. Is we were talking at the press conference of, are you going to commit to going all out in the prologue, knowing that if you allow Madalina to win that, it changes significantly where they need to finish today. If Sarah had won yesterday, she knew that a win today would be enough, but she's now having to rely on other people because Madalina went all out, and she was saying before the prologue that she was potentially going to jog. Quite a few mind games from Madalina, which we haven't seen quite so much of. But she clearly decided actually yesterday it was worth risking everything, and it's a very technical downhill descent as well. And so there was fear from people of turning ankles as some athletes have. Yeah, but thankfully they...
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, the prologue was what, 7k, just over 500 meters of climbing. So it's, you know, it's a tough day out for most of us. Gregory, as you mentioned, descended faster of the two of them. They finished only what, 10 seconds apart. But Gregory is the one who's most likely to have done more damage to her legs.
Potentially, and but actually the way they Madeleine is someone who brings speed into the downhill, where I'd say Lauren is someone who it relies more on her technique. She is a track background, she is extremely fast, but she's grown up in areas that the terrain is very similar to this. So I'd say of the two, it's probably the skill of Lauren that's going to help her today, Lauren Gregory. But significantly, she is coming into that long descent as someone who I think if I was to choose a downhill for anyone, it would be for her. And I think Madalena would know that she's likely to be caught by Lauren if she doesn't have a big lead.
Yeah, I've got Lauren at almost 800 meters behind at the moment, so she's given away a massive amount of time on the first, let's say half of the climb.
Now, if we looked back to last year's race, what was significant about that is the prologue was a very good indication of where people finished, not the overall rankings. We saw Madalena fall apart. The previous year, we saw Sophia Lockley also not finish first or second, even though she won the series. And the prologue, both of those years had Madalena and Sophia out of the top three. But it was Lauren Gregory last year who finished in second in the prologue and second in the final. So the fact that she has done so well yesterday, I think is going to be a reflection of what she'll be expecting from today.
Yeah, Philarice Kisang for Kenya and for the Run Together team. Third in Sierra Zinal last year. Obviously bad news as far as Sierra Zinal goes this year for the Kenyan team. David, what are your thoughts on Chipengina?
I mean, it's just a very sad situation where the whole sport loses. I don't think there was any intentional cheating intended. I think it was a sad case of someone who was maybe a bit ignorant, naive, and wanted to stop themselves being injured to race. And unfortunately, the fallout has affected so many people in the sport. But I mean, Philarice today will, if we think back to that race, Philarice was a very strong climber there. She of the Kenyans here today is the person who I think will be looking to make the most from this climb, because she's not known for her descending ability. And we saw in Noli against Madalena when they were running head to head, it was on that final loop that Madalena broke free from Philarice.
Yeah, Philarice Kisang on the right of your picture, 1.3 kilometers, so 130 meters between the two of them as we go to the top of the mountain. This is where they're trying to get to before they start the descent. There's the ridge line that they've got to attack. It's predominantly downhill, but it's very, very technical, and it's mighty steep left and right.
I mean, the views from the top are fantastic. You can see Lake Ledro to your right. On your left, you can look and see Lake Garda. But as you, if you run across the top, there's huge
coming up.
Right now, I'm studying on position 4 on the overall ranking, and I can't say I expected. At the beginning, I expected to read and not to have more pressure, and now studying on position 4, I think it's still open, and if I can still do it, and if they allow me to do it, and. I will just give my best for the final and see how it will be. Madalena, for now, she's good. But when it comes to a race up and down, I have the confidence, like I can do it. Also, Raul, who is back, she's okay. We were with her last 2 weeks ago in World Championship, and she's not bad. About Sarah, she's still there, and I don't know about the condition with Maren still. I think I'm still motivated. I can still do it.
Well, we will find out short enough. That, of course, Joyce Njiru, who won the race in Broken Arrow in June in USA. So she knows how to win. Can she do it here at the grand final? Was she talking about winning today's race, David, or do you think she was talking about the tour overall?
I very much think today's race. She knows that she'd have to have a lot of things. Well, Madeline almost not finishing today for her to win. But if she can win today's race, it does pile a lot of pressure onto Sara Alonso. Sara Alonso currently second overall in the series. If she came third, Sara came third and Joyce won, Joyce would overtake her to be second overall in the series. So Joyce will have that in mind as a motivation as well, to try and just get past Madalena. And if she's successful, then should have gone from fourth before the prologue to second overall, which is a great return for the defending champion after an up and down season.
Madalena Fleury on her own at the as they approach the tree line here in Italy, and then they'll get a spectacular view of the ridge line that they've got to ascend and then traverse before descending back down towards the lake. And from my readout, she now has a lead of 35-40 meters over the nearest runner, and we've only got 7 runners now in the first 300 meters. We should get a time split at around 5k to give us exact readouts, so it should be coming up fairly shortly.
Now you can see Madalena here is getting her hands onto her legs, doing a little bit of stomping. She does prefer to run where possible, but this is a very steep climb at times, so it's not surprising that she is changing from running and hiking. The real thing to tell if someone's tired is when they get, and there you go, she starts running again. And quite often you'll see runners who are tired will just delay kicking back in, but clearly she's here to run as much as she can to this peak.
Great work from Fleury. You can see just how narrow the trail is. 100% focus required all the way to the summit, and then even more on the way back down. Let's have another look at the mountains around this area, the Trentino area, not far from Lake Garda. So I'm sure many of you have been there. Yeah, great location for the grand final.
Now you may have noted on the top there were some ridges and trenches torn into that rock, and those date back to the First World War, and they make it quite difficult to run across the top. So even when our athletes emerge at the end of this 1,000-meter climb, while it may feel like the climbing is over, they will have to repeatedly go up and down across these ridges. It's a very tiring way to make your way out, and so they'll be aware that they can't start running yet. There isn't really an opportunity for them to open up their legs until they get right to the bottom of the descent.
Now that caption has Joyce Njiru some way back. A group of 5 or 6 athletes containing Lauren Gregory and Alonzo in second place, or battling it out for second place, but already some distance behind the race leader, Fleury.
When I'm filming the athletes, you just live in that moment. There's nothing else that matters. I'm Serudovki, a Golden Trail World Series camera runner. We fill with the stabilizer and the camera, and which is about 2-3 kilos. Then we need to run with the outlets in a high intensity during a long time, and this is not easy. When we are filming, we are not looking all the time at the camera because we are focusing in where we stay. But it's true that when it's possible, we check the camera to make sure that the outlet is framed. We cannot fail. The outlets are there to race, not in a shooting. If you miss it, they are not gonna stop. Of course, there's tension and stress, but we love it because we are camera runners and we are running with the best runners in the world.
Yeah, it has to be said that Jose and all the other cameramen do an incredible job on this race. And as he said, if you miss it, you've missed it. You're not going to get a second chance at getting the shot. They do incredible work on the whole series, and hopefully it will remain the same today as we have a look at the spread of the athletes. Fleury still out in front, and looking pretty comfortable at the moment.
Now that looks like Naomi Lang at the front of our picture here, the Scottish-British runner who seems to be climbing really well today. She's known as a descender, so good to see her making some moves.
Yeah, of course, she won the Salomon Pitts Glacier Trail race earlier in the season. When was that? Early August, first weekend of August. A changed course on that occasion. They didn't get up as far as the glacier, and they're not going to reach a glacier today. I was just wondering, David, whether you thought Naomi would have won the race had the course remained as it was planned.
It's a really good question, and I think she would have done, because what really surprised me about the way she ran that day, she's known for her descending, and we'll talk about that later, but when they reached the peak, she was with Caroline Kimitai, incredibly fast runner, and actually they ran together all of the way along the peak. And I was reminded that Naomi, she comes from a track background. You know, she is a very fast athlete as well, and the fact that over the flatter terrain she wasn't giving up any meters at all, I think it was the day for her there, and I think she's one of those strange people that almost draws energy from water. Every raindrop on her seemed to make her stronger, and it had the opposite effect on her opposition.
Yeah, I think that's evolution for you, and most of those who live in Glasgow probably do the same. Or the west coast of Scotland, certainly. It's been a little bit damp recently. 7 Brits racing in the women's race today. We've got a few in the men's race tomorrow.
Now, if you're wondering where Caroline Kimitai is, sadly she wasn't able to get a visa to come to the finals, which is one of the frustrating elements of international sport. We saw that for many years with Elisina unable to travel to America as well. But thankfully we do have everyone else, and the top 10 has made it to our finals. And you mentioned there were quite a few British runners. What we also have here on offer today is the best of the national series. Salomon hosts a lot of Golden Trail national series in different countries. They've all come to the final as well. So there is a chance we will get some new names in the top 10 who have never raced in the elite Golden Trail before, and they know if they do well today, that will get them invitations to come and join our series next year.
Yeah, certainly. The Nevis Skyline race, top 3 in that event near Fort William, all getting entries for this weekend, should they want them. Ewan Dowd, who lives on the west coast of Scotland, he's made the journey, so looking forward to seeing what he can do tomorrow. Yeah, great experience for some who, as you say, David, never get to run at this level, just to find out how good the best are.
And that was one of the joys of the prologue, is you know that these athletes are typically more suited to shorter distances because they tend to be younger, they tend to be newer in the sport, and they really showed that they were up there with some of the elites in their downhill skills, particularly the British contingency. But we can see now Sara Alonzo has made the overtake. She's caught Joyce. She now has Madalena in her sights ahead. And this shows, we were talking about the fact Sara is a strong climber. This is, at the moment, our battle for second and third in the overall rankings. If Sara can get ahead of Madalena, then the whole series is still up for grabs.
Yeah, she looks to have paced it well. Alonso of Spain in second place at the moment. There's still a big, steep section of climbing to come. So maybe it's her intention to just get onto the shoulder of Fleury before they start the descent. Then that will be a fascinating battle, and that will prevent Fleury from being able to take the descent easy, which is what you were suggesting might happen, David.
And look at the difference in rhythms here. You can see Sara is just a metronome. Joyce is changing between power hiking and jogging, but Sara is just in a focused rhythm, trying to rail her in. But I mean, she's giving her a little ride here. Joyce is clearly just very happy to sit behind and let Sara drag her up this ascent. This is fairly open now. They'll go to the left, up along a ridge, dip down for 40 meters before a very, very sharp climb towards the peak of this race.
Yeah, you can just see Madeleine Fleury up ahead. It must be a gap of, what, 120, 130 meters at least.
And that is, while it looks like a reasonable gap in terms of time, that's quite a good level of distance she's managed to put into her opposition there. You've got to think that's going to be at least a minute between the two groups of runners there.
Nice open bit of meadow for the athletes to recover a little before the last section of climbing. 6.6 kilometer completed. Remember, it's a 21k race in all, and the high point coming just before the halfway stage in terms of distance, so at around 10.5k.
And we'll be getting our second set of race splits to give a sense of where everyone is once they reach that peak at the top there. It's just to the right of where they're looking now. Now, it doesn't look too hot out there. 3 days ago, we were on the top and there was a nice cross breeze. So I don't think heat will be a factor today for these athletes, thankfully.
Yeah, October doesn't tend to cause the problems that we saw in June and certainly in August as well. The next cloud is due to drift over these parts on Monday morning, so they've timed it to perfection. Beautiful blue skies.
Yeah, no excuses for our drone cameras to not capture this race now. And you can see now Madalena has turned off from that main ascent. She is now coming around to the left to climb the ridgeline and to start the route that takes her right across the ridge to the right hand side of our valley. She's looking pretty good here. Oh, I say that, but then did you hear that? She's speaking to the cameraman about her right leg.
I think she was saying, I can't feel my leg. We did see her adjust her laces early on. I wonder whether she's done the laces up too tight just to make sure they don't come up undone again. I'm only speculating, but sometimes if you do the laces too tight, you do lose the blood flow, you lose the feel. And with the most technical part of the course just coming up, absolutely essential that everything is working 100%.
And it really starts to weigh on your mind. Small things like that, when she won't have come into this race with 100% confidence. given how her season's been and last year's final, and these little elements of doubt just start to grow. She does have space and time to stop and tie her laces up again if she needs to. Lauren Gregory now coming past our camera. We believe she's in 4th place. We believe that means looking very relaxed as she passed.
Yeah, Lauren Gregory hanging back in the start. She took the first section of climbing very steady. She was down and around between 15th and 20th, but she's been working her way up through the field ever since then. Always nice to be gaining ground. Alonzo, I thought just holding, I was hoping she didn't have a stitch there, but I think she's just gone for the gels. And never easy to ingest when you're on a climb of this intensity, but you have to refuel at some stage.
And absolutely, there aren't a huge number of aid stations out there. They handed in their bottles yesterday, but they won't have had a chance yet to take on extra fluid. So they will be starting to dehydrate slightly as they're coming to the end of the first hour. Now, Lauren Gregory was in this exact position in the Tepec Trail in Mexico, where we had Madalena at the front and Joyce just on her shoulder, but it wasn't until the final quarter of the race that Lauren came through, surprised them both with the win. And that at the time was her longest ever trail race. So even today, 21K, because she's only been in the sport, the trail world, for a couple of years, this is still a reasonable distance for her.
Yeah, the Tepec Trail, what was that? 34K, longest race of the season, always the Zagama at 42 and over 2,500 meters of climbing. That's an absolute brute. Apart from Zagama, which would you say is the hardest race of this 2025 series?
Well, it seems strangely that it's the Great Wall that the athletes have really struggled with, because it was so mentally draining having to run over the steps that kept on changing. But after the wall itself, the run was just up, down, up, down, up, down. There weren't any substantial climbs, and so the athletes couldn't get a rhythm. It was extremely dry, and they didn't know the course that well either, so they couldn't really judge when the finish was coming. And so you forget sometimes that it's not just the physicality of the course that can make it difficult. It's having to get your brain through the course as well.
Now, Lauren Gregory's been busy before the race. She gets a chance to explain the courses, the various aspects of the course, the sprint, the uphill, and of course the all-important downhill as well.
That's brutal that it's not considering the whole rest of the climb, because by the time you reach that point, I think you're already at 3/4 of the climb, and now you just have like a sprint climb at the end, and I would say that's going to be really challenging. I think that's not the crux of the course though, and you still have other little mini climbs on the ridge, so it's not like you just top out and are done. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see maybe who wins that segment versus who wins the overall.
So just talking about the top section, and it's exhausting when you come down a steep section and you've got to really employ the quads to control your speed a little bit, and then there's a steep bit of uphill as well. Florea seems to be flowing across it quite nicely at the moment.
Yeah, she's looking very smooth there. Although doesn't seem to be looking to push the pace that much at the moment, but you can see how much it's changing, the up and down. Once they get to the peak, there's a very, very sharp descent, and that will give us an indication of how recovered their legs are actually, because that will be incredibly painful to have to break. There also is a scramble where they will have to climb. There are clips where you can see people put ropes in. Our athletes won't have that privilege, sadly, and so they will be constantly changing their running flow throughout this.
Yeah, from my GPS tracker, system. I've got her a roughly, and I say roughly, 200 meters ahead of the main competition. Sarah Alonzo and Lauren Gregory, who's also moving up the rankings. That's a decent margin, but would you expect Fleury to hold on to that sort of margin on the way down?
I would against Sarah Alonzo, not necessarily against Joyce though. No, Joyce, if we look at her running style, she's a very strong. And is this Lauren Gregory now closing in on Joyce and Giroux?
I think it is.
Whoa, this is going to be a fight on that downhill, because the one person Madalena won't want to see behind her is Lauren Gregory. We've talked about how good she was in the prologue, and the downhill descent is made for her, far longer as well. They're dropping over 1,000 meters in less than 5K. It is insane.
Yeah, Fleury is still running so smoothly, and as I say, it comes to a very technical section, an absolute nightmare for those who aren't quite as agile as she is. The loose rocks are not nice at all, and Gregory still in there behind. And Giroux, have we got Sarah Alonzo, I assuming, is in between these two athletes, and Fleury at the front.
Yeah, that's Sarah right at the front there from her running style, and this could be quite useful for her. She is the best climber of these three, but she might be deciding across this ridge that actually I'm just going to sit back and let these two lead me on the downhill, because one of the challenges with downhill is choosing where to put your feet and having to make those very quick decisions. We saw at last year's final and at Nolly this year, Elisine was happy just sitting back and letting the others make the decisions.
Yeah, Elisine, the master of race tactics, but when he wants to overtake, he knows exactly where to do it and how to do it. And I guess, David, when you allow an athlete to run in front, you can make a very, very quick assessment whether it's quicker to take a slightly different route or not.
Absolutely, you can skim tiny corners on every switchback, but I think significantly over terrain like this, when you've got someone like Gregory who understands how the earth moves even, and understands which rocks will slip out and where to brake, it means that you don't have to, you can rely on her knowledge to steer you home. It's almost as if you're following a ship with a map, and so they're actually taking you through the safer route, the faster route, the more efficient route. The question though is whether you've got the legs to be able to run the routes they can at the speeds they can, and that could be the punishing element for Sarah. We've mentioned the fact that she ran a marathon at the World Championships 2 years ago. She also ran OCC 2-3 weeks prior, and so she's got a lot of mileage in her legs, and so that downhill will really hurt when it comes. But it's quite a fan club, it seems, for Madalena. She's picking up strays on the way.
Yeah, it certainly is. Quite a few spectators out there with banners and placards, all mentioning effectively mentioning the Olympics and wanting this sport to be part of the Olympics. I don't think there are any hill runners who wouldn't like to see that. But how do you create an event that, one, is very, very inclusive, as in as many nations can get involved as possible, and two, is what the spectators would want, which may not be a 4 or 5 hour mountain race. There may be another format, the flower format, for example.
Yeah, and I know we're all aware, Patrick, of how much you love breakdancing. We've seen you on the dance floor, but when you see sports like that enter the Olympics, and you think, sure, breakdancing is fun, but millions of people run trail around the world, and there are now formats where you can see the excitement of a race like this, and as much as I like sports like race walking and the like, surely trail running, which is one of the most accessible sports on earth, but also one of the most exciting. How does that not have a place at the top table of sport?
Yeah, absolutely with you, absolutely with you. But it's got to be competitive, and as soon as you make it an Olympic sport, you would get athletes from other sports who fancy their chances in this one. And they would come across, but it's important that the spectators get to see a show as well. So I think you have to race loops, and it has to be varied loops. So some sections suit the sprinters, some sections suit the uphill climbers, some sections suit the downhill, and then you've got a fascinating race on your hands. And as soon as you do that, you're going to get massive involvement.
And we've seen over the years there have been several athletes come across who've been very good marathon runners or very good road runners who've tried to use that speed out on the trail, and quite often it doesn't convert. If we look at even the physiques of the runners, you know, our athletes tend to be far more powerful, really deliciously strong quads to go down those downhills, and we've seen some runners where people like Andre Blanes, who came top 3 in Zagama, you know, a 2:09 marathon time. We've got Madalena Florea 1:11 at the half marathon. People like Lauren Gregory with 15, 17, 5K PBs. So, you know, they're bringing that track speed into trail, but they've also got the skill and the experience to combine it with.
Yeah. And I think also that you need to have a race that is not just one big climb, one big descent. It's got to be multiple climbs, minimum of 2, probably 3, just because then those who are good at descending get to benefit from that. Everyone can go down a hill once, but then to run up again, you've got to have got down the hill efficiently and with as little damage to the legs as possible.
And that's why I love this sport, one of the many reasons. If this was a road marathon right now, we'd probably be saying that Madalena is going to win. It's very rare that you have someone come back from behind in a marathon and actually overtake, whereas, you know, Golden Trail, in the shorter distance trail races, the lead changes hands repeatedly. And while Madalena is looking strong at the moment, and we can see how hard that climb is that she's having to go through, she won't be looking back, aware that she's now got 3 people on the hunt for her who are able to close on that downhill very quickly.
Yeah, but this section here, David, is like the 8th interval of an 8-interval session. She's got to the last one, and that has a remarkable effect on your mind, and that then affects your body. So you start to feel good, even though it's the most brutal part of the course. You know you're nearly there in terms of the climbing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tick box of what have I got to overcome to get to that finish line, and I mean, you can see how long that climb seems, but reaching the peak of any race feels like a huge achievement and one step towards that podium. But it looks as if they're changing again now. That to me looks like it's Sarah Alonzo. It's at the back, her hiking style. Lauren Gregory now ahead, so it looks as if Lauren Gregory is making the moves. Joyce Nduru, I suspect, is below them all off camera. So, I mean, this is a big surprise for me. You know, Lauren is a great all-round athlete, but Sarah is known for just not giving up on climbs, and the fact that Lauren is ahead of her already shows that she is in the form to win this thing.
Yeah, Sarah Alonzo definitely confident of her climbing ability coming into this final. And I think even she would say that she's a little bit surprised to be in contention for the overall title this year, but that is the case, and she's making a good show today.
The track of the final, even I didn't check before. For the videos from the profile, I think it gave me chance to do a good race because the climb is so steep, and in this type of climbs I am able to perform really well. The downhill gonna be more technical, and for American girls or for African girls, it's gonna be more difficult. So I think it can be sweet almost well. At this moment of my season, at the beginning of the year, it was like impossible to think that I was battling for the overall win of the Golden Trail Series. Now in the final, if I want to win the circuit, I need to take a risk and to push hard to Madalena. But at the same time, I think she's really strong right now, and it's gonna be almost impossible. So I think I'm gonna play my card more safe and to conserve my second position and take eyes in Malen and Joyce to not pass me. But for me, the most important person of the race, it's gonna be Madalena, and my goal is just to have one position in front of her. Maybe I am third in the race, fourth, second, whatever. But my goal is just to be one position before Madalena.
That's setting yourself a fairly tough task when Madalena Fleury is in such good form, and the Romanian is almost certainly going to reach the high point first in this final of the Golden Trail World Series. And she laid her cards on the table very, very early today, even quickest on the sprint at the bottom, where I thought she might just take it easy and work herself into the race. But no, she took the lead after about 150 metres, and she has not looked back since. Now she can see the summit, and she can see the what, we must have 50, 60 people up there on the high point waiting to welcome her there. And then we get to see what she's got left for the downhill.
Yeah, she's on that that steep climb. Lauren is just in the shade before she turns up to that final steep climb. She will start to see her quite soon. I'm intrigued to know whether Lauren is actually closing on Madalena or whether Sarah's dropping back from Lauren, because there's clearly a difference in speed between the two of them now, and it's hard to actually relate that to what Madalena's doing. But it does look like, you know, Lauren is in the ascendancy at the moment, moving very quickly.
Yeah, I think the GPS trackers are losing their signal, as we have a few issues with the pictures as well, so I'm not going to read too much into the positional situation that I've got on the screen. We do know that Fleury has a decent lead. That's the first time I've seen her look over her shoulder to see if there's anyone coming up behind. I think she's safe. She was a couple of 100 metres clear last time we saw. As you said, David, you can see the lake from the top, and it gives you the false impression that you're nearly down there. They have a long, long way to go, a lot of descending to come.
Now, she doesn't seem to me to have quite as an intent in that climbing. You know, she had hands on the legs, really power hiking before, whereas this to me looks more not quite as furious in the speed she's putting on this climb. Maybe a sign of some tiredness there.
Well, do you think it's that right leg issue that she was trying to talk about? She was trying to get a message across to one of the crew about 5 minutes ago. The impression I got is that she said her right leg was numb. It could, of course, be the thigh, it could be the foot, we don't know. But have you any idea what could be going on?
It's nothing linked to anything she's had in her past. We know at times she's struggled with nutrition and gets very nervous before the races and is unable to eat, unable to fuel, and but it doesn't seem to present itself in this way. I think it tends to be more fatigue and general tiredness, and it had been looking as if she's conquering her demons in regards to nutrition throughout this season, but this one is completely new to me.
Well, hearing there, 1 minute and 30 seconds, the gap to the front. If that's the case, that is not a massive amount of time with all the descending to come. There's Lauren Gregory still going well. I think of the leading three, she's probably moving better than anyone else.
And I'm fairly confident Madalena was walking at that section where Lauren was. We could see Lauren was actually in the trenches rather on the footpath, clearly choosing a slightly different line to the one Madalena took. But 90 seconds, we know from the downhill of the prologue, she managed to claw back 43 seconds. 90 seconds doesn't seem that much in that context.
How about that for a view? The trouble with being a runner is you cannot take your eyes off the trail. They'll be oblivious to the drop left and right. I can think of a few people I've walked with who would struggle to get along this. It's not quite like the Anakiga Ridge in Glencoe, but it's not far off.
Yeah, I mean, the left-hand view as well, I think is equally as beautiful. We can see a drone in our drone as well. We've got double cameras up here today, just in case. But she's coming along the ridge now. This is where it's pretty tricky. You can see the way she's changing. There are a lot of rocks. It's very unpredictable. And off the back of this is a very steep descent for about 100 meters, where it wouldn't surprise me if she has to slow down a fair bit.
Yeah, pacing all important. Anyone who's run down even a Munro in Scotland will know that if you run the first bit of the descent too hard, the bottom section is very, very tricky. And there's Lauren Gregory going over the top. She's done amazingly well over the last 15 minutes or so, just getting into her stride. Now, have a look at her on the descent. Looks to be slightly more intentful than we saw from Floria. Alonzo is there as well. All the big names. In fact, 4 of the top 5 in the women's series are up in the top 4 at the moment. So everyone going for a position on that podium.
She can smell blood now, surely. She must be able to see Madalena in the distance, and she looks to me far faster at this stage over this terrain. She grew up in Fort Collins in Colorado. She's used to training on hills. She lives and breathes them, and she's putting that into good use right now. Now, what are the challenges?
Just a rundown on the positions, David, as they go over the peak. We've got Floria in first, and from what we understand, she's about 1:15 ahead of Gregory of the United States. Alonzo in third at 1:30, and Joyce Njuru just coming up to the summit now, so she must be 2.5 minutes at least off the race leaders, and of course Njuru, the winner of the series last year.
1:15. If the person who tipped her off to 90 seconds, or your estimate, it looks like Lauren is closing slightly. Joyce, I think, will feel pretty good with this position right now. Couple of minutes back, not too much for her to overcome against Madalena, potentially against Lauren. This is going to be an intriguing race, and the fact that they will be able to see everyone ahead of them now because of the gradient of this downhill.
Is this Alonzo in our picture?
This looks like Sarah Alonzo to me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, moving nicely. Here's another steep section and takes the first tumble, or is that Gregory?
This is Lauren Gregory here, yeah. You can see how tricky it is to try and spot where to run there. There is a groove, but there are rocks throughout it, incredibly hard to move quickly. But the fact she bounced up so, just rebounded like she was on a trampoline, clearly didn't phase her at all.
Yeah, might suggest she hit a bit of grass rather than the rock, but the danger level is right up there. The risk is there. Now, what about Floria? How's she going? Everyone has shortened their strides dramatically. Just from the breathing, sounds as though she is a little bit anxious. I wonder whether she's had a split. They're over the 10K mark now, and starting the descent, or the traverse of the ridge. I think it's fair enough to call this section the steep descent yet to come. Gregory's flying.
And we still haven't had anyone else through that checkpoint yet. So our top 4 really have pulled away from the rest of the field. But they're coming through now. In fact, we have a surprise athlete from Slovenia. We've talked about how there are some of the national series in this race. Lucija, in fact, I'm going to absolutely butcher this name. Apologies to everyone in Slovenia. Lucia Krokic in 5th. We have Barbara Bukovian in 6th. Marie Nivette from France in 7th. And Rosalara Filiui in 8th as they came through that first checkpoint.
Wow.
Marlenosa also in the top 10 now. She's a very good descender from the Basque Country in Spain. She was placed in the top 5 coming into today, and she'll be someone else who'll be picking up places as we come towards the end of that descent.
Nice rhythmical climbing from Lauren Gregory. Just the fact that the cameraman can walk at the same pace might indicate that sort of power walking is a little bit quicker, but it's about keeping the legs nice and light, and the American rounding one little peak after another. It's a relentless ridge. Yeah, really excellent section, and Trentino, fantastic choice for the grand finale this year.
And you can see how hard it is to get any rhythm there, constantly changing. Now, these ridges date back to the First World War, when they were put in place between Italy and the Austro-Hungarian regime, and soldiers would be here throughout the winter defending these peaks. I mean, it's pretty hard to be there today, let alone if you're piled under meters and meters of snow.
Spectacular scenery here in Italy, and always impressed that the spectators get to reach the most unlikely locations, but their support very, very welcome, not just for the athletes, for the cameramen as well. And if you think running this trail is tough for the runners, spare a thought for the cameramen, who are carrying what, about 1.5 to 2 kilos worth of kit, plus they're having to keep half an eye on the camera to make sure that the frame is right. So there you get the standings on the climb. Gregory the quickest, 11:58. Alonzo in second. Floria just 14 seconds down. Then that was the climbing section for today. So Gregory was the quickest of the climbers, and from what we've seen so far, it looks as though she's going to be one of the quickest on the descent as well. But will it turn out to be her day? Lauren Gregory down in 5th place in the overall standings, 5.78 her total so far. Hasn't done as many races as many, but she did, of course, win out in Mexico. She won the Tepec Trail in style. And just looking at the results of the prologue yesterday, Lauren Gregory in 2nd place, finishing in 40 minutes and 6 seconds, which was only 11 seconds down on Madalena Floria. And at the moment it's the same 1-2 here in the final race of the season. Alonzo sitting in 3rd at the moment. She was 4th in the prologue yesterday. Certainly seems to be a little bit more urgency in Floria's running. She's not flowing quite as nicely as she was earlier on, and certainly not flowing as nicely as Gregory, who looks very, very relaxed at the moment, and still waiting to get a split. We know Gregory was quickest on the Ascent. At the next time split, we'll get to see exactly who was quickest over the Traverse.
And look at that view in the background. Now, Lauren has had quite... Oh, that looks like that hurts. Oh, come on, Madalena. The speed at which she got up there suggested... If we remember how Lauren went down, she just bounced straight back. Hopefully nothing's wrong, but either I think Madalena may be in some pain, or else that has just emotionally taken a bit of a punch to her soul. If she does have pain in that leg and she's now struggling on this downhill, it becomes very, very hard to confidently attack these downhills.
Super good.
Now, Lauren Gregory has had compared to Madalena, a far shorter season. Madalena was out there in the first race in Kobe. She raced in China, and so while she has had some time since her last Golden Trail race, we saw with Lauren, she only joined the series towards the end, doing well in Broken Arrow and into Peck, and so may have far less fatigue carried through this season so far, which could be an advantage today. But Madalena up and running again. She's looking like she's flowing well, thank goodness. Doesn't seem that fall has affected her too much.
Well, that's the two leaders that have both gone down at some stage on this race, and I suspect as they get more and more tired, as they get towards the bottom of the descent, we'll see a few more incidents. You mentioned the Great Wall of China race, David. Was one of the aspects there not just the fact that they did a lot of running on the hard surface of the wall itself, but a lot of the trails were just pure dust and very, very different from anything you get in Europe.
Yeah, there's some of the videos you'll see of the intro to this show where you'll see athletes sliding out, and it did seem to be challenging underfoot, but also even breathing in the air when it's very sandy. It's just not a nice experience, and so it was a race for those who were mentally tough. But it did seem that speed was the winner of that race. We saw Caroline Kibatai caught on the wall by Madalena, by Joyce, but actually when it came back to the flat, she was able to pull away again. But finally, some good open running. This is really the first time we've had in this race where people can put their speed to good use, and both of these athletes incredibly fast. I don't know who I'd back in an all-out foot race between the two of them.
Well, Gregory still looks to be the smoothest to me.
And this looks like Anna Gibson now from America, also climbing here. But in the back on our, and Marlene Ossa of Spain just ahead of her. Both of these athletes. Oh, maybe Marie. Oh, I apologize. Maybe it's Marie Nivet. I'd like confirmation of that.
Yeah, I think it's Marie Nivet, number 11, and Marlene Ossa wearing number 3.
Marlene, as we've already said, a very good technical descender, lives close to Tagama, and you can see she's pulling away there almost straight away as they go onto the descent. Marlene has been struggling with cramps throughout this season. Yesterday in the prologue, they came back again, so the fact she's moving well now hopefully is a good sign that she'll be able to race this to her full potential.
Cramp usually an indication that the nutrition isn't quite right, or is it are there other factors involved?
It can be for some athletes, but it's one of the mysteries that there do seem to be. I think it's actually more to do with nerves. We've seen with Madalena, and we've seen with And we've also seen with Marlin that even early on in the race, they can have these issues with cramp. And at the World Championships, Marlin had to drop out around 10K because of how bad the cramps were. But this is looking a lot slower than it was before. It is a very steep climb, but I do suspect Madalena is starting to tire now. She's looking back more frequently than she was. Never a good sign that you're feeling good and you're confident.
Yeah, 10K to go. And just as you mentioned early on, when you're tired, you don't take every opportunity to break from the walk into a jog. And she's certainly not doing that now. Is that Lauren Gregory just behind her? I think it is. And the gap has gone from 250 meters to something closer to 50, 60.
Wow, this is, I mean, if you think it was 90 seconds and now, what, 15, 20 seconds, and you'd imagine that is going to close very quickly, given how that will make them feel. The big question mark is not just for this race, but what does this mean for Madalena? Because Sara Alonso wasn't that far behind. And as we heard from Sara's interview, all she wants to do is to get ahead of her. And with Joyce Njuru also close by, Madalena's in real risk here of losing not just this race, but losing this series.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether it's more a factor that she pushed so hard in the prologue or whether she just started too hard today, because she absolutely flew away from the pack in the first, kilometre of climbing. And when you've got a long race like this, that can't be the right way to run.
Sara Alonso on our screen here, just steady as ever. And you're right, she did fly out. And we've mentioned how Madalena has struggled with her nutrition in the past, and if it's hard to get right for one race, when you have two races in a row, it's two opportunities to get nervous, it's two opportunities to under fuel, and so potentially the fact there's two races back to back is just magnifying the trouble she's had with her nutrition.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating format that they employ at the end of the Golden Trail Series. The prologue, followed by the last race of the year for the women just 24 hours later. For the men, 48. They've got a bit more time to recover. But the way that Lazawi went down the hills yesterday, he's going to need every minute he can to get his legs in shape for the final tomorrow. The men's race going off at midday Central European time tomorrow, incidentally. Not to be missed. We'll be back on TNT for that one. And I think the Moroccan in a very, very good position. Kipengino, Kiriago, two men who might challenge should El Azawi have a bad day.
Yeah, that's going to be a fascinating battle as well. And we've still got the course record holder, Cesare Maestri, who will be racing as well with his insider knowledge. Now, if Madalena can regroup, we did see in Noli, in Golfo dell'Isola, she finished extremely strongly there, a very long race with 4 or 5 laps. And so she does have the ability to regroup and still run quickly. And given that the on-in to our finish is a lot of grueling, fairly flat miles, but with ups and downs, if she can just compose herself now and try and stick with Lauren on the downhills, she does have the chance to then try and pull away on that faster run into our finish.
Well, they've still got some way to go along the ridge here before the main descent starts. You can see exactly where they've got to go, just in the distance down towards the lakeside. And Lauren Gregory, who's been our sort of course advisor throughout the week, explaining exactly how tough this downhill is. Two and a half K, 691 meters to descend. An average gradient, as you saw, of over 28%.
I think descending is really hard on your body, so I've been trying to preserve my well-being in the meantime, because there's no use in showing up to the race cooked, you know? So I'm just gonna see that when I see that, yeah. I think I'm gonna just try to race, because I think especially if there's not points for it, like it doesn't matter who wins lap 3 of 4 of the mile or something, or of the 1500, it matters who wins the 1500. So in my mind, the segments don't really matter. It's more how can you get to the finish line first.
Well, that's a fair comment, David, but when it's technical, a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of experience goes a long way.
And she, following the World Championships, she came straight here. A lot of the American athletes did the same. There was no point in returning home. And so they've had a really good opportunity to see this course. And the statistic they showed on screen, that is of the downhill segment. It's like a King of Mountain stage in the Tour de France, but on the downhill. Whereas the whole of the descent is a whopping 1,059 meters across only 4.6K. So they're using the segment as just the beginning of it. But you saw some of those steps, those grey steps that have been dug out from the war and concreted. It's incredibly hard to actually see where the steps and stones are because it's just one colour. Very hard to do when you've been in the bright sunshine into those dark tunnels. Very, very precarious to run through. But we can see Lauren Gregory closing on the left here. She's closing in on Madalena, just slightly yard on yard.
And then Sara Alonso wearing bib number 2 on the right of your picture. She's not so far away from the race leaders. So things starting to tighten up after a very, very powerful start from Floria. She's still got the lead, but she is now painfully aware that the opposition are on her heels. She'll be disappointed that it's Gregory because she knows Gregory's so quick on the downhills, but she also knows that Gregory is, 98 points behind her in the Tour standings.
Yeah, it's Sara, you're right, it's Sara Alonso that she fears. And Sara's known for her uphill, but she lives in the shadows of Gamma. She's not bad at downhill, and she will come through that segment reasonably quickly. There might be some frustration now from Madalena Floria, and there's some tactical naivety. She could have chosen, as you said at the beginning, to just run with Sara and just run with her all the way home, knowing that she only had to finish one place behind her, and that would be enough. The fact that she's risked it all to try and get the win on the day could be coming back to bite her now.
Yeah, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said if she works hard on the uphill, she'll give herself a little bit of breathing space and enable herself to take the downhill slightly more safely. That opportunity is gone. But the driving force for Madalena today has to be winning the overall series. It's not so much about beating Lauren Gregory for one in the overall in today's race. It's much more about the series title.
And if we think back over the last 3 years, it's proven incredibly difficult to win the final and the series. It's only happened twice. We saw when El Hassin won the final 2 years ago. Remy was series champion. We saw last year, Joyce Njiri won the overall and lost the final as well. And the year prior, Sophia Lockley won the overall but lost the final to Madalena. And it's partly because it's incredibly hard to actually sustain peak performance throughout such a long season. But it's also because it seems our champions get drawn into thinking they have to win that final race and really suffering through and not actually being able to perform in the way they would if they were not thinking about the overall series.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that the Tour leader coming into the last race is under more pressure than anyone else, and that has often showed.
And we saw last year with Madalena Floria, to try and get used to the race course, moved to the finals 3 weeks in advance and actually was in a chalet up on the mountain. But it proved too much. One of the challenges of going early to a race, you do get to see the course, but you feel like you're in battle mode the whole time you're there. There's no escape. You don't have your creature comforts. And I saw Madalena yesterday. She was walking with her headphones on, playing, I think, something like Candy Crush on her phone, clearly trying to take herself out of the pressure that she is in these finals. And the fact that she came so late to these finals, I think, is because she's trying to avoid that build-up of pressure that has taken such a toll in the past.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Gregory with the lead. We will. There she is, the American now leading the way in the final event of the season. And what sort of a gap has she opened up over Florea?
And she's caught up quite a lot there. I mean, there was a 20-meter gap has just vanished as soon as they started going downhill. And this isn't even the technical descent. This is annoying, this is scrambly, but this isn't where she has a massive advantage. It's when they take a turn into the woods that we're really going to see the difference in their speeds. And the fact that Madalena is already falling back over this section, to me, means Sarah is in the hunt for this second place.
Well, an hour 40 on the clock already.
26, vous captez quelque chose?
Looking at the splits, Lauren Gregory has already built up a 28-second lead over Madalena Florea at the last checkpoint. Sarah is yet to go through, but she must be coming through very soon. So a huge change of that lead. 40 seconds difference in the case of maybe 5 minutes of running. A seismic shift.
The pre-race predictions saying they would finish at about 10 past 2 local time. So that's 10 past 1 in the UK. They've got a way to go. Well, there you can see one of the steeper sections down towards the forest again, and they'll go from the bright sunshine into the shade. It will take just a few minutes for the eyes to adapt. That's a crucial time when focus needs to be stronger than usual. So Gregory leading, Florea in second place, Sarah Alonzo in third. I haven't had a readout from Enduro for a while, David. I'm not sure that her GPS tracker is working 100%.
We should hopefully be getting an update from her fairly soon. Sarah Alonzo has now gone through the checkpoint. Doesn't look like she's been closing quite as much as I'd thought. So Sarah Alonzo currently is around 1 minute and 40 behind Madalena Florea. 1 minute and 40. If we think back to our previous checkpoint, she was around 1 minute and 50 behind. So not a huge difference in how they've covered that top. It looks like Madalena and Sarah are running at have run at a similar pace. And is this Madalena we're following, or is this Rosa Lara Filiu on screen here?
We had Alonzo earlier. We saw Filiu's time. She's lying in 7th place at the moment.
I don't quite understand how she's in 7th place. It's incredible. She did the 80k at the World Championships. You know, she's coming 2 weeks off the back of running an ultra, and then she came 5th in the prologue. 7k race. I mean, the ability that she has over these different distances is remarkable. And part of me was nervous that she was going to be too tired to then perform today because of the 80k in the legs. But the longer she maintains this, she's actually got ultra endurance on her side, and so she's another good downhill runner. She could start to pick up places and get into that top 5.
Yeah, just trying to work out, is that Gregory up the front, or is that Florea we're seeing on the left of our screen? Difficult to tell from these distances one of the downsides of the drones and the GoPros. It's nearly always widescreen.
Especially with the camera runners split amongst them as well. Now, the this section that we saw the video for, we don't actually have a runner able to go through that and broadcast back because of those trenches blocking the signal.
Well, here's just a slow-mo of Madalena Fleury. She's not only got the downhill to contend with now, but she's got to contend with the fact that she has lost the lead, having been a minute 15 at least clear of everyone, and that vanished in no time at all. Lauren Gregory of USA flying on the traverse of the peak, and also very, very quick on the initial part of the downhill. This, David, the most technical part that they'll take on today, but I imagine it's so technical that everyone is going to apply just a little bit of caution.
That's the big question. And if you're Lauren Gregory, this is the moment I think she will take the brakes off, because she knows Madalena can close out a race extremely quickly. And if you've got only 5K of advantage, you try and make as much of a take advantage as much as you can. And we have a cameraman in there. I didn't think we would have this. Fantastic. And you can see that the variation terrain, not too difficult at this section, but it will plunge down fairly soon.
Well, this is coming from one of the running cameramen. Well, hopefully we're going to get a chat with Lauren Gregory now about the preparation for the race. Here she is.
Yeah, I mean, it's always deep. It seemed deep last year. I've heard there's some athletes that aren't coming, and then we had a recent person not allowed to keep racing. So I guess we'll see. I also feel, of the people here, I feel very fresh because I have not raced as much, and I raced the classic race, which is shorter at Worlds. So yeah, I think I've set myself up to have the best shot at scoring points. And I found last year, with only doing 2 races, the final kind of like wipes clear your points from the year, and you have a shot to really move up a lot. So to me, it seems like a miss to not give it your absolute best at the final and show up as fresh as you possibly can, because the points are so much more weighted towards the final. So it seems like the best chance I have is to come here fresh, and I think I've done that. I think it's engaging. It's really technical. The climb's really long. The ridge is not smooth, so I feel like the biggest key will be to stay mentally engaged the whole time, because it requires focus almost every step. There's no like easy runnable parts. It's all gonna be like full 100% focus and running hard. So yeah, I don't think I've ever raced a course like this before, and I'm curious to see how I'll do. I think I'd be happy with knowing that I arrived as prepared as I could and was able to express the fitness that I do have. And I just want to be happy overall with the 2 races that I can put together. And if it appears like, oh, maybe it's just not going to be my best, that's just what it is, as long as I give 100%. So I'll be happy with that.
Well, I think she'll be pretty happy with the way things have gone so far. Lauren Gregory of USA with the lead here, and making it look very comfortable. She's absolutely right about coming fresh, you know, prioritising, maybe giving away a few points here and there, but there's a bundle of points up for offer for this final. 300 points for the win, which would take her up to 878, and that could well see her on the podium in terms of the overall standings for the year.
In fact, I've got a nice little calculation we can do based off the current standings. Lauren's score, with Madalena finishing in 2nd, Sarah in 3rd. She'd still be down, sadly, on the overall podium, but would be in 4th place overall. ahead of Joyce and Jiri, who we have on screen at the moment. In the last checkpoint, Joyce was only 45 seconds behind Sara Alonzo. But surprisingly, behind her, Lucia Krukok from Slovenia was only 30 seconds adrift. So actually, our top 4 has become a top 5, all very close together now.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why those paragliders haven't moved for the last half an hour, I think that's just a shot out of the library, because just occasionally the runner's going out of reach in terms of the signal, and so we get to see some of the promo shots of this area, and it is absolutely stunning. I mentioned before you got your line working, David. We're right in the middle of a nice rectangle of cities: Milan, St. Venice, and of course Cortina, the venue for next year's Winter Olympics. And we're smack in the middle of that group of cities. So there are plenty of options for a night out, but I think you'd have to pay me to take me away from this area. I don't think I've seen anything quite like it over the last year or so. Stunning, stunning location.
Especially when you think this is almost mid-October. And you step outside, it's 20-degree heat. It's wonderful. But we can see there the differences now, the athletes pairing together. And there are a huge number of very gifted technical descenders at the top of the climb as well. We saw Marlenosa there and Lara Rosa Filiu. Both of those two will be catching up on this downhill as well.
Yeah, that looked like Injuru. Here she is, and finishing in the top 4. All important now. She is probably aware that Lauren Gregory has gone ahead. And Injuru, who started today in 3rd place in the Tour standings, what was she, 50 points off the lead, and that makes her, what, 48 points ahead of Lauren Gregory. So absolutely imperative that she stays up there in 4th if she's going to hang on to a top 3 in the standings.
And Sara Alonso on screen as well. Did it look like she was hobbling there, or was that just the way she was moving through the stones? You know, Sara will suffer through pain either way. An absolute powerhouse when it comes to getting the most out of her body, but not looking as fluid as Lauren Gregory over this descent. As a reminder, there is over 1,000-meter drop they are going through at the moment in less than 4.6K. Extremely steep.
La caméra, je regarde après.
Having to take some very... I don't think you can quite get from these pictures how steep this descent is. It's a bike now we're having film it because the runners couldn't keep up. But the fact she's having to take some very short steps quite often shows that she's really having to put some brakes on to navigate through this.
Yeah. Well, I've just done a few calculations as well, David. And bizarrely, if Injuru, who, as I said, is in 3rd place in the standings, if she does finish 4th, and at the moment she's lying in 4th, if she finishes 4th and Lauren Gregory wins this, Gregory would end up on 878 points, and Injuru would have 875. So it would swing, and that would push the Kenyan off the podium positions. Long way to go. But it's that tight.
And it might be Joyce's podium is outside of her control. It looks like she's reaching for some nutrition there, not moving in her normal fluid style. But look at the contrast here. 5th place on our right. I believe this is Lucia Krukok, a runner I don't know a huge amount about, but clearly very, very good descender.
Very good. No news on Nemi Lang, who we were expecting to see her move up through the order as the descent goes on. I've got at least 2 kilometers behind the race leaders at the moment, so she's not had a particularly good climb. Krkoč of Slovenia, very fluent, beautifully smooth, just looks relaxed. Hard to believe that she's been on the go for almost 2 hours, most of which was uphill. Sarah Alonzo, very, very short, quick steps, which I guess is the least risky way of doing it. Who do you rate as the best descender in the men's game?
I mean, following yesterday, you've got to say Ascent is almost untouchable in the world on descent. We saw Joey had on a orienteer, very, very good as well. And if it was wet, it might change, but Ascent, to take those 2 minutes, not only did he destroy them on the up, but that downhill, it just took the brakes off. And it's wonderful to watch. But we're just about to hear from Marlin, who we have on screen, a very good Spanish runner. The fact she's in 6th shows she's already caught up 3 places on this descent.
I have Sarah and Madalena in front of me, and I think Joyce and Lauren behind. The gap with the ones behind is smaller than with the ones in the front, so especially with Joyce, that is like super, super close. So already, maintaining that podium will be a really good result for me, but I think I am also able to get a step forward in the ranking, especially knowing that there are also other runners that can beat Madalena and Sarah, but cannot affect the general classification for me. So, for example, if Naomi or Anna Gibson is faster than them, it can be good for me because right now I'm not racing 100% against them in the general classification. I think the track of the final it's gonna be a tough one. You have a steep climb, you have technical parts, you have a steep downhill. I think it suits more to technical athletes rather than to fast athletes, so I'm happy about it. I do think it's a race that I can perform really well, especially because the terrain is pretty similar to Worlds, so I'm very familiarized to this kind of climbs and downhills. I'm very excited, and I think I can do it.
Well, we will see. She finished, 6th in the prologue yesterday, gave away just over 2 minutes to Madalena Florea, and she is climbing the ranks here, sitting 6th at the moment, but going up the rankings as the descent goes on.
And she was extremely frustrated yesterday. She was sat in 3rd coming into our series, and I think she was hoping for a top 3 place, top 4 at worst, to ensure that she was coming in today with a 3rd place she could defend. The fact that we're talking about Joyce and Giroud, Lauren Gregory for those positions shows how much of a difference the prologue race made. But she is a very good descender, as we've seen, and she'll be hoping to pick up more places, and potentially, with not a huge distance between her and Lucia Croc, it could be that she's in top 5 fairly soon.
Yeah, I think Ossa's going to struggle to make the podium in the overall category come the end of today. She's certainly going to have to beat Giroud and Lauren Gregory, who started the day behind her, some way behind her, but Gregory is having an absolute flyer here. Still looking good to you?
Yeah, it's not quite as fluid, but I mean, you're going to get tired at some point, but she's still, I think, moving fairly fast. You forget that every single change of direction and every time you're having to change your gait is draining, and so while she's not looking quite as fluid here, it is because it is such a rough path, and there's an element of you just try and control your speed through this rather than trying to push, because if you know you're going to have to lose that speed on the next corner, there's not a huge point to trying to go flat out for these short sections.
Yeah, phenomenal work from the cameraman on the bike. Running this stuff is difficult enough, riding it treacherous, but they do a remarkable job.
And you can see even on this downhill there are climbs in there. You know, it's a total of 1,059 down, but that it's actually a little bit more when you think you've got to also climb at sections, and this will be quite painful right now.
So the other question that we don't have an answer for at the moment is, where is Floria relative to the race leader Gregory, and has Sara Alonso got any closer to Madalena Floria?
I mean, look at Sara running now. She seems to be running faster on these uphills than she was running across the top. I think she's sensing that she's in this. All of our athletes know, the camera runners and the cyclists, so they will get updates on the course. And I suspect that Sara has been told that Madalena is potentially tiring, but also within reach.
Yeah, but to win the Tour, she's not only got to beat Madalena, she's got to get ahead of Lauren Gregory as well and take the full 300 points. That, at the moment, still looks unlikely.
Yeah, true, and she's going to have to rely a little bit on her opposition to do her some favours here. But if Sara was to come second and Madalena come fourth, she would finish 6 points ahead of her. So she just needs to be 2 places ahead, whether she wins or comes second. So she'll be cheering on Joyce right now. And we're back with Marlon Osser as well. It doesn't seem that she's too far behind. This looks quite familiar ground, as if Sara's run this not too long ago. Both runners know each other extremely well from the same Basque region of Spain. And the fact that she's come through here now, this is the end of our big descent. There is an uphill, and she is beginning the long drag across the valley. She's finished that 1,000 meters incredibly quickly. There's still 4.3k to go, and there is a little bit of climbing at a couple of 100 meters that she'll be doing across this. But it's very demoralizing when you've just come downhill for so long to then have to reverse back, and you feel like you're running away from home when you're telling yourself the finish line is almost within sight.
Bah, tu me dis, je peux continuer avec la première jusqu'à...
What have they got? 150 meters of vertical climbing still to go from the start of this last section. They'll cross over their original route and then approach Pieve de Ledro from the other side, so they'll be familiar with just about all the terrain close to the village itself. Here's Sara Alonso, still running with higher cadence than anyone else. She is on a mission, but we're still short of a split between herself and the athlete in front, Madalena Floria of Romania. I think you're right, David. I think she's had a tip-off that she is getting closer.
And we have had a split now from the final downhill. This is 1 hour 54, so 9 minutes ago, Lauren Gregory had a 1 minute and 10 second lead ahead of Madalena. So she'd stretched, but not a massive amount. If we think it was only 28 seconds at the top. So towards the bottom, and we're getting the fastest downhills now. Marlon Osser leading.
Yeah, 31 seconds clear of Gregory. So Osser's had an absolute blinder. Crutch of Slovenia going well, 44 seconds down. Feliu of Spain, 53 off the quickest. And Floria noticeable by her absence in the top 5 on that descent.
And how has Rosa Lara done that with 80k in her legs? Significantly, both of them missing. But if we look at the race splits, the last time they came through, it was 1:55 for Madalena Floria. Sara Alonso almost 2 minutes behind, 1:57. So they 10 minutes slower on the descent, it seems Sara was. So she's really going to have to just throw everything at this this next 5K to try and reel her in and hope that she can bring Joyce with her, because at the moment Madalena is going to win this overall series.
Yeah, just under 200 meters between the two leaders now. That's the sort of information that we've needed for a while. Gregory back into the woods, a little bit cooler, and Fleuria still running with a decent cadence, but the stride is significantly shorter than it was on the initial climb.
And we talked about the tactics that Madalena was using and whether she was right to go out so quickly, but it seems that it's worked well for her. She was able to control that downhill, and we know she is a better descender than Sara Alonso, but the fact that she's been able to just navigate it without actually conceding any time and hopefully coming into the section with a little bit in reserve could have been a very good tactic after all.
So Injiru on to the road. I think she's still in fourth. She's in 5th place. So who does that? Does that put Marlin Ossa into 4th at the moment? So Ossa, if that's the case, she's gained another 2 places on the descent down to the town. And I don't think I've ever seen Injiru walking on a road before.
Yeah, this is not a good sign for her. I suspect it might be Lucia Krukoc who's come through
possibly,
to take 4th place. Joyce was actually closing in on Sara Alonso. I suspect this is the end of her challenge for 3rd place now. She's having to walk at that section, but she was only 20 seconds down, and Lucia within 30 seconds of Sara Alonso as well. So this top 5 are very close, with Marlin also closing in on them.
Very distinct style.
I think that might have been Jorge. I just caught a glimpse of her dad on the right of the screen who was running, potentially in the blue there.
Yeah, having a good chat as well, which might stagger some that they've got the energy and the ability to talk when the work rate is so high. So Sara Alonso on your left, Marlin Ossa still looking very, very good on the right of your screen at the moment.
And I forgot just how long that road is. Really punishing at this stage of the race. Sara now pulling into the left. There is more climbing still to come. She's on trail, and she'll feel like she's finally on the run home, but she'll turn right and see another climb. It doesn't stop quite yet.
Back with Fleuria in runners-up position. Fleuria is, well known for her choice of clothing in these races, but I don't think I remember an athlete sort of adjusting her shorts so often during one race, whether that's because she's so overloaded with gels or whatever, but it just seems slightly unusual that your clothing is not 100% comfortable.
And maybe it's linking to what you said earlier with the right-hand leg. Maybe something has gone wrong slightly, and something's pressing on a vein, restricting blood flow, or it's just causing doubts in her, and she's just feeling really like her clothing shouldn't be in the positions it is right now.
Yeah, just over 3K to go for Lauren Gregory, which will be somewhere around the 13-minute mark. There's still a lot of single track to come. The last K will be pretty quick as they work their way back into Pieve de Ledro.
Marlin Ossa now coming to the end of the road climb. The fact that she's on screen and we haven't seen Lucia suggests that Marlin has actually caught up and is now in 5th place on the hunt for Joyce. Potentially, have we seen Joyce come through the wooded section yet? Potentially Marlin Ossa has already made the pass.
Number 7 going through, that's Rosa Lara Filiu. And, wow, looks remarkably good at this stage when you consider what she's done over the last couple of weeks. 80k, 50 miles in the legs, as David said. Seems to have recovered pretty well. Your experience, David, a big race like that, or a marathon, for example, most athletes would want a full 3 weeks to recover, and probably more.
Yeah, absolutely. The golden rule is typically a day per mile of hard racing that you do. So that's before you're on peak condition. Well, you can be close to racing again. So you look at something that's an 80k, 50 miles, you should really be waiting 50 days, and yet 14 days later, she's here, flying down the Golden Trail in 7th place. Incredible.
Gregory, who we heard from earlier on, saying that, you know, she felt it was her priority to get to the final as fresh as possible, largely because the points are slightly biased towards the final weekend. But she had a brilliant race yesterday, finishing 2nd in the prologue, and she looks as though she's going to top the table today. No signs of cracking at the moment. Just under 2.5k still to go. The Americans having a blinder, and it's going to be, if she wins this one, her 2nd victory of the season, having taken victory in the Tepic Trail in Mexico in June.
And it was won in very similar fashion as well. She was placed behind Joyce Giroux and Madalena Fleury on the uphill, and then paced to perfection and just unleashed her downhill speed to come through and win the overall, and have finished very strongly. So even though she's not as used to these distances coming from the track, I suspect she's going to run at this pace all the way through to the line now. But Madalena Fleury, I mean, she's looking strong, actually. She's looking like she is a bit more recovered than she was at the peak, and you can see these short climbs that are just softening you up every time, and really affecting your motivation, demoralizing.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a picture of Fleury as she goes past that next pylon, and that will give us an exact timing between herself and the American. There are quite a few pylons on this trail, to be honest, but hopefully we'll pick out the right one. Gregory looking very relaxed to me.
And when you come from behind in a race like this, you just feel like you're in the ascendancy, even if you are tired. You know, that you can turn the pain into a positive, because you can tell yourself, of course I'm tired, it's because I'm leading, it's because I've overtaken everyone. And the gap being over a minute, even if she looks back, she won't see her. She won't feel like she's being hunted at all. And this looks like we have Lucia on screen now. Lucia Krukac from Slovenia, up to 4th. An incredible race by her. So she did indeed overtake Joyce Giroux, and Joyce is shedding places now. The fact that Marlon Oster is up to 5th, we've got a fear for Joyce's overall standings.
Yeah, I think 3rd is out of the question now, particularly due to the fact that Gregory is up in front and looks as though she's headed for the full 300 points, and that will put Gregory up into the top 3 by my calculation. Marlon Oster could change things.
Yeah, absolutely. If Marlon manages to come through in 4th, she'll still be behind Lauren Gregory, and so, you know, Marlon's going to have to catch Sarah Alonzo if she wants to get back the podium that she came into this weekend holding.
Yeah, Gregory, remember, if she wins, is going to finish on 878, Ossa, if she finishes 4th, goes on to 864. And she'll get another 15 points if she goes up into 3rd place, which will take her on to 79. So looks as though Gregory is pretty much assured a podium finish if she can hold on to the lead here.
And Rosa Lara on screen now. She has a fortune cookie for breakfast on every race day. Her partner is a runner as well who's running tomorrow. They share it if they're at the races together, or else she'll have it by herself, but it's part of her pre-race tradition.
Educate me. What's a fortune cookie when it's at home?
Good question. I think as I did ask her that, and it's a homemade one, I believe. Joyce and Jiri back running though, thankfully.
Yeah.
Not out of the game yet, 6th place. You know, she is a very good, fast runner. If she can get through these next kilometers and come back to that road, there's a chance she can still claw back 5th, 4th place.
Now, just working out the potential standings is quite a tricky operation. How much time will the runners have spent working out? In Juru, for example, what will she have worked out what she needs to do to finish in the top 3 of the Tour?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know from having spoken to Madalena and Sarah in particular, Sarah Alonzo is missed data, but they will have worked through their finished places and what that does to their points. But the challenge is, because this is such a different race to what we were expecting, with Lauren Gregory leading, they might not have thought, what happens if I'm in 5th and Sarah Alonso's in 3rd? Or it's very hard to actually calculate every single computation, because the points aren't linear, and therefore being 2 places behind someone if they win, it's not the same points difference as being 2 places behind them if they're 3rd. And so whether they've gone to that detail is tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not worth the energy. You're better to be asleep, recovering.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, you know, some athletes enjoy that, and that's their way of distracting themselves from what the stress of the race is. And rather than playing computer games, they might just look at the data and find confidence in it. And I know Sarah Alonso will always be aware of what the statistical outcomes are.
Alice Gaggi there for Italy. The local fans be glad to see one of their own in the top 10.
And Alice Gaggi was actually the course record holder of the race that this has been built upon, so knows this course extremely well. And great to see her up in the top 10. A really good performance from her, better than any race this season so far. So really good work from her. And another overtake. Wow, Joyce is really shedding places now.
Yeah, that's Bukovian going through, the Czech runner who's looked good all the way through today, and a new name to many, but she looks as though she's got a massive amount of potential. Similar running style to Madalena Fleury. Number 9, that's Anna Gibson of USA. So the Americans having an excellent day with Lauren Gregory up front. I thought that looked like a stumble, but she rides through it well, taking the weight off that right foot. Instantly, she realized the footing wasn't quite right.
And we see so often with athletes, it's when they relax, when the terrain is not quite as technical, that they have their falls, because you've really got to stay focused throughout this.
Yeah, her interview where she was saying this is one course where focus is required all the way through. There's no easy running, no easy kilometers in this race whatsoever. Quite nice for some of the athletes to actually be surrounded by other runners. It's been a lonely run for Gregory since she went past Fleury. Rosa Lara They're wearing 7, closing in on Njiru, who's lost 3 or 4 places since she went through the high point of the course. And 1 kilometre to go. 3.5 minutes maybe for Gregory, maybe even less if she winds it up as she is capable of doing.
Yeah, I mean, her mile time is pretty impressive. I think she's got a 4:35, 4:32 track mile when she was a sophomore at college, so she could put down those paces pretty easily. And it's amazing how stacked this field has been. You tire for a little bit and you suddenly shed 3 or 4 places. And just doing a little bit of research on Barbara Bukovian, you know, a very good road runner as well. She's got a 1:13.5 marathon, and is someone who's clearly got wheels and is using them well today.
Well, it's been just about the perfect race for Lauren Gregory. No panic whatsoever. She was down in, what, 15th, 16th place in the first 20 minutes, and then just gradually worked her way towards the front, and then was racing in close quarters with Florea at the top of the climb.
And clearly she clearly learned a lot last year. She came into the series fresh, managed to get 2nd in the prologue, 2nd overall, you know, ahead of all of these athletes on the day then. And so clearly that looked like that could have jarred a little bit.
Yeah.
Just shows you how tricky this course is. Even with only 2-3K to go, you're having to concentrate on every step.
21 kilometres of pain. It's nearly over. A kilometre to go now for Florea. She's just over 200 metres behind the race leader, Lauren Gregory. I think for a while now, Florea will have settled for 2nd place, knowing that that would be good enough to win the series, which, to be honest, was her ultimate goal. Although at the start of the race, it looked as though she was going for the double. The day's win and the season's win.
And she said in the press conference yesterday that given the experience of last year, I think she came into this knowing it can't get worse than last year's final. You know, losing the series and finishing in 43rd place, it crushes you, but also it tells you, well, I've survived. And she said at the news conference yesterday that actually, even if she doesn't win, she's here to have an experience, and she's here to give everything, but not to be too frustrated if she's done. But talking about that, here comes our leader, Lauren Gregory, coming through to the finish.
And Gregory with 2:22.37 on the clock, just 50 metres or so to go. She keeps the pace going. A beaming smile from the American as she comes across the line to take the win in the Golden Trail World Series final.
And what a performance from her in Mexico. She did win, but it seemed as if she came from behind, taking advantage of weaknesses and bad performance from the runners ahead of her. But today, there were no questions around whether she deserved this. She paced it to perfection, and when it came to that downhill, she just opened up and never looked back. She's only 2 years into trail running, a very young athlete bringing track speed, and the fact she's adapted so quickly, this is someone who could dominate this sport, and she's won today, but who's going to bet against her winning the series next year?
Yeah, it's always difficult though for the Americans because they like to race at home, and generally only 2 races per year on that side of the Atlantic. It's so much easier for the Europeans, and Madalena Florea is going to take the title this year. A brilliant 2nd place. Yes, she'd love to have won today, but she was beaten by the stronger athlete. Lauren Gregory looks so impressive at the top of the hill. And as you said, David, when you overtake someone else, you feel fantastic. And she never really looked back. Florea, well, it was a powerful start. She was, 100 metres clear of everyone after the first 5K. And just overcooked it, I think, in that initial stage. But She came here for the series win, and that is what she's going to take away. Having won the prologue yesterday, she put herself in a fantastic position, and she's capitalized today. Brilliant, brilliant running from Florea. What a season it's been.
And there have been so many question marks about whether she could finish this off after last year. And the biggest doubter was probably herself. She's been the person who could stop her winning this. And for her to actually go out hard today and back herself really proved to be a master tactic. She could relax a bit on the downhill, and this will be the biggest result in her career. She knew she had a chance. She knew she blew it last year, but Madalena Florea, you are the series leader of the Golden Trail World Series. Congratulations, an incredible performance.
This brings back memories of 2 years ago when she won the grand final, didn't win the series that year, but that was really the turning point in her career. Today she wraps up the GTWS. She is the champion, and what a race. What a brilliant race from Sara Alonzo. She looked as if she was going to threaten. Great character and a great way to finish the season. She will take second place in the overall. She stood in second before today's race. She finishes third today, one better than she was in the prologue yesterday. Spain's Sara Alonzo, an outstanding performance.
And when I spoke to her yesterday, she was, before the prologue, talking about the points difference between her and Madalena. But at the beginning of today, second overall in the series was what she wanted. And that's what she got. But our top three, all within 3 minutes. I mean, an incredibly close battle. And even our top 10, the standard of this year's Golden Trail has been so high. We're seeing a slight mistake and you're shedding places. But the big question is who's going to come through in fourth? And it's a new runner to our final. Incredible, the Slovenian taking fourth place, her first time even in the top 10 at the finals. What a performance from her.
Well, that is an outstanding run from Krokic of Slovenia. She has a great future. She looked as good as anyone else on the downhills. Be really interesting to see her uphill splits and her downhill splits. But I think she's done enough today to worry some of the champions here, because that was outstanding.
And she's done really well in shorter distances in the past. We saw her at the European Championships last year. She came 7th in the 16K, but most of her best performances have been at the shorter distance. But today's race really suited her and could be someone who we see on the circuit next year. And look how close that finish is. Marlenosa coming through in line in 5th place, with Rosa Lara Filiu just behind in 6th place. Super tight for that finish.
Well, it's very, very tight all the way round. You wonder, had there been another significant uphill after the main descent, how things would have changed, because it was a fantastic, fantastic finish. Indura yet to finish. She was lying in 2nd place in the early stages today. 1 or 2 bumps and bruises on the way round. Gregory took a big fall, but seems to bounce through it. We saw a fall from Madalena Florea as well, but that didn't seem to cause her any issues.
The question now is, where is Joyce going to finish? Is she going to be holding on to 4th spot in the overall? It looks like she's been shedding places. She'll really need to battle now to try and maintain her overall season position.
Yeah, I think she's going to fade, because she was only, 11 points clear of Marlenosa at the start of today. And with 300 points, much bigger point margins between the positions today, every single position making a significant difference. Rosa Lara there, number 7. Great race from her. Really enjoyed watching her progress through the field as the race went on.
On my calculations, I believe Marlinosa is 4th in the overall series. And there we go. Joyce Njiru, great friends with Madalina, coming through the line in 7th place, which puts her at 5th in the overall series.
Yeah, I think Njiru may have suffered an injury on the way down.
Yeah, it looks like an Elisina Lazoui there helping out his great friend of his as well. They do have a same manager, I believe, the same agent. But wow, the fact that she fought all the way through the finish line with a finish, so with an injury, really impressive running.
Yeah. We won't really get to hear the stories until afterwards. The cameraman did a brilliant job. We caught a lot of the action, but there will certainly be spills and falls that we didn't get to see on screen, and most knees indicating that they have taken a tumble. Well, what a race. The last one of the season, 21 kilometers, 1,600 meters of ascent in all, starting from Pieve di Ledro, a flat kilometer to get it underway, and then Njiru and Madalina Florea doing battle at the front of the field in the early stages. Florea, David, was away and clear.
Absolutely, at this stage of the race, it was looking like she was going to dominate like she did in the prologue. But in fact, at that exact shot, there were question marks about her leg, and suddenly it looked like Sara Alonso was the one who was going to be on the hunt, closing in and bringing Joyce with her. But then Lauren Gregory, way back outside the top 10, halfway up the climb, had paced to perfection and was reeling everyone in. She first ran past Sara, then past Joyce Njiru, and at this stage it was looking like Madalina was not only going to be caught by Lauren Gregory, but actually could start to shed places. The change in body language as they got to the end of the ridge and started heading downhill, that's where Lauren Gregory extended her lead, but she never looked back, running all the way to the finish. Her first final win, her second win of the series. A great performance. Madalina's second place today, enough to win our overall series. And coming through in third place, Sara Alonso. An outside shot at the win, but she was delighted to hold on to her third position in the overall series. Close behind her, in fact, that's our top 3 we've seen. What a race.
So Florea, the champion from Romania for the first time, Alonso in second, and Lauren Gregory, today's winner, leapfrogging up into third place. What a race. And you know what's the best part of it, David, is we get to see it all again tomorrow. The men racing exactly the same course in their final, and usually the two sets racing together, even though sometimes we have a slightly delayed start between the men and the women's.
Yeah, we wanted to split it to ensure that we could dedicate as much attention to the women's race as the men's. But looking ahead to tomorrow's race, Patrick Ipanino, who is currently sat in second place in the overall rankings, he has committed in the press conference to going out hard because he knows he has to somehow break and drop Elisina Lazoui to stand a chance of winning this overall series. But we're going to hear from today's winner now, Lauren Gregory. Well, we'll hopefully be hearing from her soon. Our French commentator Martin running over from the building nearby, grabbing a mic, but she's just having a little moment there, as you can see.
Positions 1 and 2, and they saw quite a lot of each other on the run, as we see number 11 coming through. That's Marie Nivet of France, who we saw earlier on. Brilliant climber. Not sure how she fared on the downhill. I must say, Lauren Gregory looks so strong. She's got a different build from many of the athletes here, and she has proved herself to be the all-round trail runner today. Here she is. Now we get to have a word with today's winner.
Here we go, live from the finish line with our grand final winner, and what a win. So the question is very simple. Lauren, at what point did you believe you were going to win?
I think it was that last pretty steep pitch before like the second to last ridge, and I was catching up to Madalena and I still had legs, so I feel like if I had legs before the descent, I had it in the bag. So it was true, and I'm glad I believed in it. Yeah.
And just to wrap it up, this is the final race of the season. You're moving up in the rankings. I believe we have to do the final thing, but you're third overall.
Let's go.
Does that mean we see you here next year?
I think so. I think so. I cannot come back. Yeah.
Here you go. Thank you very much. And we're going to be carrying the interviews with the second and third lady. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad Martin's calculations agree with ours. We've put the American Lauren Gregory up into third place in the overall, and that's great news if she races a little bit more in the series next year.
Yeah, if you look at the number of races she actually came in, she only had 3 races this season, the minimum you need to score. And Sierra Zanau was a bit of a shocker for her. So if she'd have come in today with more points, who knows what would have happened to the overall series. But interesting, we were talking about how much energy would make a difference, and the fact that she realized that she could attack the downhill because she still had legs. That's the moment she realized she could win this race. And that's how much timing your energy levels through the season are important to ensure you can take advantage of that moment when it comes.
Here on the finish line with Madalena Floria, second place here, and what a battle. We saw you start very, very hard, and it looked like the strategy was hard in the first part and then see what happens. Was that the right strategy for you today?
It's first time when my body was really don't work, and if I don't understand, for the beginning a bee or something insect was bit me, and I was not feel my right legs at all, and it's I don't know, I'm so happy. Congrats for everyone. Thank you for my family. Thank you for all the Romania who supported me. I need to enjoy this day.
Well, and you look like you're going to be able to enjoy because you win the Golden Trail World Series overall, so congratulations for that. And then now place for celebration. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So there were we speculating that it might be the laces that were too tight or the shorts were too tight. It wasn't. It was a bee or a wasp that made life pretty uncomfortable for Floria on the climb. But I should think, David, as soon as the descent started, she forgot all about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that climb is so long, it's probably all you're thinking about. But a lot of runners at the World Championships, like Judith Weider, great champion of the Golden Trail, had to pull out because of bee stings that were happening at the World Champs. And so we've seen Kilian Jornet in the past lose races because of these insects, wasps, bees. And so when Madalena was stung, I'm sure she had that in her mind that just 2 weeks ago it had finished some people's seasons. So, but you can see the joy there. She just didn't want to answer the question, really. She's like, I've won, leave me alone, I want to have fun. And fair enough, she deserves it.
Yeah, Anna Gibson, the second of the Americans, is in and celebrating with Lauren Gregory.
And that's Alice, a local runner as well from over towards the east of, so the west of Italy, coming through a top 20 finish for her, I believe, which would be a great performance as well.
Alonzo, and Sarah, today you gave absolutely everything. It shows here, actually, even in the descent, you went all in. But you were fighting for keeping your second place in the overall, and you did.
Yes, I did.
So how did that go for you?
At the beginning, like, Joyce started super quick, and I know that the only one that can pass me, it was Joyce. So I push all I have in the uphill, and then in the technical downhill, I take more risks that normally I take. In one of them, I fall in the floor, and with the poles, I have in my lentils, so I wasn't able to see nothing. And in the live, probably I was looking stupid because I was all the time like, because I wasn't able to see, and in one moment I was thinking I will drop out the race, but then I put water and I start see again, and the last 4K, it was another time climbing, and I know that there I can push again. Finally I arrived there. That means I am second overall. I am so proud of that. I did a really good performance this year in the Golden, first, fourth and third. So in general I am second. That is a dream come true. I started the Golden Trail Series 5 years ago, and this has been my best year. So finishing with a podium and with a second overall is amazing.
Well, it certainly is. All sorts of drama out there on the racetrack that we didn't get to hear about until the end of the race. Now that is tough, taking on a downhill like that with without 100% visibility. Not only brave, but remarkable.
Yeah, and we saw, even once she was past that final long descent, how technical the trail was, and we were wondering why she was struggling so much, and it makes sense. But have you ever seen Sara Alonso finish a race without blood on her? Like, it's remarkable. She needs to be sponsored by a plasters brand, because she takes the falls and gets back up and just grits her way through it. And second place today, her best ever finish. She is the runner who's been on the Golden Trail for the longest now, her 5th series, and to come in second, I'm sure that feels almost as good as a win for her.
Yeah, absolutely. She takes the falls, she takes the risks, and it looks as though she's about to pay the price, because she's already started limping, and there was no sign of that. There are the standings. 9.58. Madalena Florea tops the Golden Trail standings for this year. Sara Alonso in second, and Lauren Gregory all the way from 5th up into 3rd with the win today and the full quota of 300 points. Ossa in 4. And Giroux, who had a bad day, things going wrong for her on the latter stages of the race, down in 5. And Rosalara Filiu down in 6 for Spain, with Marie Nivet of France having an absolutely brilliant day in 7th.
And even in that top 10, we can see Alice Gaggi coming through top 10 for the first time. Sarah Carter, top 10. All-round great performances.
Well,
this is what we've got to look forward to.
Yeah, the women's race is over midday tomorrow, local time, so 11 o'clock if you're watching in the UK. The final race of the men's season. And Elassine El Azawi of Morocco looking to win the title for the 2nd year in a row. Patrick Kipinjino of Kenya is closest to him, just 29 points adrift. It's going to be a cracker. Join us then.